Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Poodling Around. How much poodling around have you been doing? I hope you've been listening to some of the past episodes and catching up on some of the great things to do in England. So, the question today is, have you ever wanted to stay in a real English castle and pretend you're a princess for the day, or even maybe a prince? Have you ever wanted to have a fairy tale wedding in an English castle, or even perhaps hire the whole place and have it to yourself for some sort of special celebration? Or perhaps you just love history and a real history buff and want to get on the trail of some of the most exciting bits of English history. Maybe you just love stargazing and would really like to go to a dark sky paradise. Well, Langley Castle Hotel in the English county of Northumberland can offer you all of this and a truly amazing experience. To find out more, I spoke to Margaret Livingston Evans, Langley Castle's Executive General Manager. Good morning, Margaret.
Good morning, Jane.
So nowadays, Langley Castle is a 4-star hotel, isn't it? But could you tell us a little bit about its history and start with how long has it existed and whereabouts are you based?
Okay, right. Langley Castle has been in existence since 1350. We're actually situated about 6 miles away from Hadrian's Wall, which is great for us to have such a fantastic attraction close by. The actual castle is pretty much as it was when it was built in 1350. The stonework is as it was then. So we've got our 7-foot thick walls, our battlements, our garde-robes, which is really exciting for our guests when they arrive, because the first thing they say is, it really is a castle.
So it's pretty authentic then, I guess.
Very much so, which is what is the joy for everyone when they're driving by and they happen to see this castle, and then they get the opportunity to come in and explore it as well as be a hotel guest. It's wonderful for them because they just don't get that opportunity very often.
So going back to a little bit about what you've said, can guests actually walk on the battlements?
They can, yes. We do a battlement tour every day at 10:15. The idea is that our guests get the opportunity to literally see what we see, behind the scenes, on top of the castle. On a lovely day, you can see Hadrian's Wall from it. So it's really nice. Our brides and grooms love to have photographs taken up there as well as in the grounds. So yes, they can definitely get onto the battlements.
And I believe that it's quite easy to appreciate how thick the walls are because you have window seats that are actually set into the walls.
They are. If you pop into the castle for a coffee, you'll enjoy it in what we refer to as our drawing room. There are window seats in the drawing room, but also in our bedrooms. What's a lovely, lovely part of our guest stay is sitting in the window seats and maybe just partaking of a G&T or something whilst looking out into the grounds. So yes, the beautiful window seats.
Oh, I hear you're busy there.
We are busy, yeah. Phones ringing, people are coming for show around, so I apologise if there's mutterings going on in the background.
That's okay. I know that these things called garde-robes, which are quite intriguing. Could you tell us a little bit more about those?
Yes, actually, I don't know whether you can hear, but Andrew, one of our staff, has actually just started the tour for the guests, and he's describing the garde-robe. Again, I apologise if you can hear this going on, but at the end of the day, apart from being a castle, we're a very busy working hotel, so you will hear lots of staff and everybody milling around. The garde-robes actually are, to all intents and purposes, we're told they are the best example of garde-robes in Europe, and what they actually are the looms for the soldiers, and you can see them on each floor from the first floor going up to the third floor, set back for obvious reasons. But yes, they're referred to as garde-robes. I have to stress they're not used at this moment in time, but they're a wonderful example of the castle and its history and how things worked then.
Yes, so I guess that indicates that the castle was under siege for quite extensive periods of time if people went to the extent of fitting these garde-robes.
Yes, it was. I mean, obviously, the Jacobites, the rebellions, it was all happening at that time. Obviously, the king had allowed Sir Thomas de Lucy to build this castle because he was one of his favourite knights. And I believe for about 100 years there was lots of fighting going on. And so, yes.
So is the castle structurally impressive when it's viewed from the outside? And would you say it's Instagrammable?
Oh, absolutely. It's very imposing. A lot of our guests who, when they first arrive and pull into the drive and drive up, they literally have that wow factor. It does make people actually stop and stare. We get a lot of people coming just to take a photograph in front of it, but absolutely Instagrammable. You know, the whole thing about the castle is just appealing to the eye, and it's such a beautiful shape. I think if a child were to draw a castle, they would draw Langley Castle. Its perfect structure is what you would imagine a castle to be.
Oh, that sounds lovely. And now I believe that attached to the castle is the title of Baron. And there were barons of Langley even before the castle structure was actually built. And that you have something that belonged to the very first Baron now, Adam de Tyndale. Could you tell us what that is?
Yes. Very recently, a seal has been found. I think I was led to believe by the gentleman who found it, because he just visited the hotel a few days ago, that it's the second Baron. I mean, obviously it's that old. I wouldn't know personally, but I'm led to believe it's the second Baron that this seal belongs to. So the owner of the castle has decided that he'd like to reunite the seal with the barony. So this has literally just been happening in the last week, and our owner has purchased the seal, and it will be on display in the castle once we've got it organised with a lovely display cabinet with the history of it as well.
Yes, because I think both first and second Baron were both called Adam de Tyndale, weren't they?
Yes, absolutely. There's the confusion.
Indeed.
But I'm told it's the second Baron, so there we go.
So this item really highlights the long history of the castle, doesn't it? And I know that history is something that you've really tried to bring to life for families in the past year. So could you tell us what you've done there?
Well, obviously, there is so much history attached to the castle that we've actually had someone prepare something called Hairy Histories, which is our version of Horrible Histories. It's based on Langley's history and obviously what's been going on in our area and of its time, but it's also fun. I mean, anybody who's read the Horrible Histories will know that it's made history more interesting and more fun for children to read. But so it has been fun. It's something that it's a completely different to the hotel world, but it adds something to it.
And this is free of charge, I believe, and downloadable at your website, langleycastle.co.uk.
Yes, it is indeed.
And I know that, you've got your battlement tours because we've heard them sort of coming down the stairs. What do people actually do on those? What sort of things do they see as they tour around?
Well, they all meet in the drawing room at 10:15 each morning, unless, of course, we have an exclusive use wedding on. And whilst they're in the drawing room, it's explained to them about the history, who built it, who it was for, how long ago this happened, and who's owned it, and, who's lived in it. But then as the tour goes around the castle, it's easier to explain things when you're actually showing people things. So they see the garderobes, they go into our beautiful Stuart suite, and they'll go up onto the roof, as I mentioned before, where you can actually see Hadrian's Wall. But then they go into our chapel, because we have a chapel on the roof. And whilst in the chapel, you can watch a video. It lasts about 10-15 minutes. And again, it gives you an idea of the area, the castle's position in the area, and just about our beautiful county of Northumberland.
Great. And with all this history, would I be right in thinking that guests can sleep in 4-poster beds?
Oh, yes. I think, if you go online and look at our website, we do a virtual tour around the castle. So a lot of our guests like to go on and choose the room. They're all beautiful, but they're all different. And of course, a lot of them do have the 4-poster beds available in them. So, yeah, it's a bit of fun for the guests to actually do the virtual tour and choose where they want to sleep.
And I think some of the rooms are in the grounds, aren't they? Is there a lot of outdoor space at Langley Castle?
Yes. We've got about 11 acres here. And outside the bedrooms, we refer to them as castle view, because indeed, when you open your curtains in the morning, there is the castle. That is the view that you see. So we've got lots of walking routes for guests to explore both the grounds and the local area, which is nice. We've got our woodland area, which is beautiful to just sit and listen to the wind blowing through the trees. It's very peaceful.
And going back to the history and linking this to the grounds, I believe there's a bench in the grounds that was donated by the local Jacobite Society. And that this is because two of the castle's owners were related to the Stuart monarchy and were instrumental in the uprisings that, tried to re-establish the Stuarts on the throne.
Yes. This what you're actually referring to now is actually James and Charles Radcliffe. They played their parts in the uprising in 1715 and 1745. Unfortunately, they both suffered death at the Tower. But as a result of that, there's now a shrine to them just down the road. And each year, the descendants of these lovely folk come to the castle and celebrate their lives and the part they played in the uprisings.
And if I'm a guest at Langley Castle, what is there for me to do locally?
Of course, we've got the wall, which is the most, it's a worldwide heritage site, so that goes without saying. Whilst on the wall, Vindolanda is a marvellous place to visit, both for adults and children alike. Again, it's history brought to life with being able to see and touch things. There's excavations going on outside, inside the museum. There's all the relics that have been found whilst they've been digging around it. But apart from that, we've got obviously we've got the race course at Hexham. We've got Kielder Reservoir, a lot going on over there, Hexham Abbey. But we also have a lot of people who come from the south who, whilst they're up here, like to explore just Northumberland in general. So I'm always being asked, how far are the other castles? How do I get to Holy Island? How far is Bamburgh Castle? What's happening at Alnwick Castle? So there's a lot going on in Northumberland that guests can really take advantage of.
And I believe the drive up to Langley Castle itself can be an experience for classic car enthusiasts and people who love motoring.
Yes, you're talking about the A686, one of the AA's greatest roads to drive. It's called the Hartside Pass. We personally have a number of companies like Porsche and other names that like to use ourselves as a base when they're actually producing a new car. The Hartside Pass is great for drivers. It's a proper driver's road. But the combination of staying at the castle, particularly for car enthusiasts, classic cars, sports cars, new cars, whichever, they love the combination of putting their cars in front of the castle, taking some pictures, and also having the opportunity to drive the great roads at the same time.
Right, that sounds brilliant, doesn't it? But that's not all, is it? Because I believe you've actually given guests the opportunity to go stargazing because of a connection that you've got with the world-famous Kielder Observatory, which isn't that far from you, is it?
No, it's a wonderful opportunity for guests to combine staying in a 4-star 2-rosette castle with viewing the stars, looking at the stars. As you say, Kielder Observatory is known worldwide. It's something I've been doing for a number of years with them now. The guests arrive at the castle, and at that point, we do everything for them. They have a lovely dinner. We organise a bus which takes them up to to Kielder Observatory. They have a wonderful evening up there with the staff. I mean, the statistics and figures and looking at the stars and the moon, it's just amazing. And then we bring them back again. They have a cheese and biscuits and a snifter at the end of the night. And what I find is it's a great opportunity for women to buy a present for their other halves when they never know what to get them. Because, men can be quite difficult at times to buy for. So the women, it's a win-win for them. They get to stay in the castle, have a lovely meal, and they give their husband a wonderful birthday present or gift that is very unique. I do believe it's on a lot of people's bucket lists to visit Kielder Observatory. So, it's just a great combination. I think we've got a couple of rooms left for our 1st of November one. and then a few rooms left for the 8th of November. But what we do, we have a rolling program, and as soon as we fill one event, we reboot the next. So we'll probably do 6 to 8 events through the winter period, because obviously you need the dark nights and the stars to be visible. So yeah, it's great. It's a wonderful gift for people, or even just a wonderful gift for yourself if you've always wanted to do it. People treat themselves and come and stay at the castle, and let us take the weight off their feet, and we organise everything for them.
And this is largely because Langley itself is in the Dark Sky Park, or whatever they're called, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a great opportunity to not just to see it, but to find out the facts. I know when I've been amazed at the statistics and how far away everything is. To try and imagine and envisage it is difficult. But they bring it to life for you. They give you all the information and make it very interesting. It's a very interesting evening.
And you call this Starry Nights, don't you?
Yeah, we call it our Starry Nights package. As I say, very popular. I keep on booking them. I think we're one of the most regular people up at the observatory, but they're a great gang up there, and it just works really well. They give out their complimentary hot chocolate, which everybody looks forward to, and a great team with lots of information.
And I suppose, sort of talking about events and things, do you allow people to stay over Christmas and New Year?
We do. This particular year, we've got a wedding over the New Year period. But yes, we have guests booked already for Christmas. They can stay for 2 nights or 3 nights. Well, they can stay more if they want. But we do 2 and 3 night packages, which just, we pretty much just cater for all of our guests in the castle. We can't cater for too many more people who are non-resident, because once the castle's full and Castle View's full, we don't overfill it. We just want to look after our guests in the right way. And we get a lot of returning guests. So it's wonderful. We make sure there's a lovely gift for them when they arrive at the castle. And again, the food's a big part of it. The Tourisette restaurant, and the food's amazing. So they love it. It's just Christmas simplified.
Sounds fantastic. Getting away from everything, all the stress of being at home, all the cooking, and just letting somebody else take charge of it. Sounds idyllic.
We do the work. We do the work.
So this must be a fairy tale place to marry as well. So do you stage many weddings? And is it expensive to marry at Langley Castle?
Well, in answer to your question, we do stage lots of weddings. We feel that we are very reasonable for what we offer. I mean, you can actually hire the whole castle for £12,000. That includes all of the bedrooms, which, as far as the wedding's concerned, they can charge that out to their guests. So it makes it more reasonable for guests wanting, or for bride and grooms wanting to have a wedding at the castle. We've obviously tried to vary what we do here, because historically everything used to happen inside the castle. But what we're finding now is that a lot of our bride and grooms, they really want to be outside for as much of the day as possible. So we've got a beautiful woodland wedding area, which has been built, and it's all natural. The seating, the benches, it's from fallen trees, and the arbour's made from fallen trees. It's just a beautiful, natural place to get married. We also have our new teepee where you can get married. A lot of brides would like a teepee, but, it is an extra expense if you have to provide it yourself. So we purchased one ourselves so that our brides, if that's what they want, they can have a teepee. We have a gazebo outside. We've recently had a bride get married in front of Castle View because she wanted that beautiful backdrop of the castle. But of course, you can still get married inside in our Josephine room, in our Stuart suite. So there's lots of choices, and particularly if you take exclusive use, you can change your mind 10 times. You can have it inside, outside, wherever you like. But again, just more choice for the brides and grooms.
And, do sometimes brides and grooms tailor things to their interests, their occupations? Is that possible?
Oh, yes, absolutely. You know, just recently we've had a wedding where the groom was a part-time fireman. So we had the fire engine coming up the drive, which is always great fun for everybody to see, and the noise it makes when it arrives. We had a double-decker bus here recently. As I've mentioned before, we've got brides who get married in a particular position outside the castle so that the castle is their backdrop. But we also do weddings for two. And the weddings for two are absolutely beautiful. We've done, I think we did about 3 last week. And one of them sticks in my mind because the bride and groom, the joy and happiness on their face was tangible. And they didn't walk back down the drawing room aisle, they danced. And even when they got to the end of it, they continued dancing. I have to say, ourselves, who were witnesses, the registrars, the photographer, I've got goosebumps now even thinking about it. It was absolutely beautiful. So the weddings for two are really important for those who just want to get married. They don't want the fuss of, you know, who to invite and how many flowers to buy. It's all about them. They usually arrive the night before, they have a lovely dinner, and then the morning they spend getting ready. And then, the moment arrives, and sometimes they bring a couple of guests with them so that they've got their own witnesses. But very often there is just them, and we do the lovely honour of being their witness for them.
And do you cry?
Pretty much every time. Pretty much, yeah. And I get told off by the photographer because she stood behind the registrars and she can see me, and then she'll say to me, don't, you're starting me off. But I can't emphasize enough how beautiful they are. And very often when the couples arrive, I think they think because they've done it this way and because it's a wedding for two, that, they're all in control. It's fine, there's no emotion. And I always say, particularly if the groom is in the room and the bride arrives in the traditional way, once they hear that music and the bride starts walking down towards the groom, well, as I say, that's the moment when it gets them, and it gets me as well. It's wonderful. It's you can feel the atmosphere. It's charged, but it's a lovely time, and it's a lovely thing to be part of.
And I think you've actually published a guide to weddings for two, haven't you? An elopement guide, which is quite unusual for a hotel, but I think you are a specialist in this, aren't you?
Yes, we have. If anybody wants to go online, they can actually find it on our website. And it just gives people a little bit of insight. We work in this industry, so it's easier for us to understand what to do. One of the most important things that people don't really appreciate because they've never been married before is the importance of actually approaching the registrar themselves. I think they think that the hotel is going to organise everything. So, even simple things like this. And only once have I ever met somebody who asked me, what time are we getting married? And I said, well, you must have spoken with the registrar. And they said, no, I thought you did it. And obviously the wedding had been booked a couple of years, and they didn't know. They didn't know. Unfortunately, lockdown came and the date came and went anyway, and they had to rearrange. So that's really, really important for any wedding for two, a wedding for 100. They must contact the registrar in the county they wish to get married. It's not the hotel that does that, because it is indeed a legal obligation to do that. And obviously we don't do the legal bits. We do everything else.
And I guess these weddings must have become really popular during lockdown because they would have been compliant. And I guess now they're going to be really popular because they must save so much money. You're not paying for all these guests to arrive and celebrate with you. It must be a good way to save money.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yes, save money, but still do it in a beautiful way. As I say, I wish everybody could literally witness what we witness as witnesses. Pure joy. I've had American brides who couldn't get home during lockdown and they just wanted to get married. They were marrying an Englishman. And, when they've got married, I've seen them when I've been leaving work. I've seen them outside. They've kicked off their shoes, their wedding bouquets in front of them, the champagne buckets in front of them, and they're just sat there in the sunshine. And I think, wow, who wouldn't want to do that? Beautiful.
And I suppose now we're all dying to know. We've talked about barons of Langley, but is there a current baron of Langley, and who is that?
There is a current Baron of Langley, and that's our owner, Stuart Madnick, Professor Stuart Madnick. He has owned the castle for 38 years, and once he knew that he could actually obtain the baroncy, is it called? I'm not quite sure what the official title is. But anyway, he is indeed the current Baron of Langley. So Stuart is the man, and he is the person who has recently purchased the seal. He takes it very seriously, his ownership of the castle, and has done for the past 38 years. And if there's anything he can do to restore things to it that he thinks, should or might be part of it, he brings it back into the fold.
Okay, that sounds good. It's good to have somebody that's really sort of invested in the castle in every way, isn't it?
He certainly is.
And another question that always interests people, have any celebrities stayed at Langley Castle?
Well, I don't know if I should mention Boris. He didn't stay here, but he did come for lunch at one point. Robson Green has stayed here for an extended period of time. But we've also had J.K. Rowling staying. I think she stayed here. She's definitely visited here 4 times, which obviously makes us think that, she found something very interesting about the castle, which we feel have found their way into the Harry Potter books. Anybody who comes here and sees our staircase, if they've seen the movies, I think there's a good chance they might actually make a connection between us and the moving staircase. We also have a grey lady ghost. Now, far be it from me to say that's what she found moaning Myrtle in the toilets. I'm not sure. But there could be a connection. Who knows? But yes, we certainly have ghosts, and moaning Myrtle would definitely fit the picture.
And finally, what's the most special thing for you about the castle?
Oh gosh, apart from the beauty arriving here every day, I have to say the team, the people, because a building is a building and it can be beautiful, but without the people in it, it actually, it doesn't come to life. As you can hear, I've got staff in the background here, they're communicating with customers all the time, and that's what brings it to life. During lockdown, myself and my deputy manager, Bob, we were the only 2 people actually coming to the castle, because of course you weren't even allowed to travel, and as lovely as it was, it's an empty building without anybody in it. The castle remained beautiful. People still, when they got the opportunity, were coming and taking photographs in front of it, but it's the people.
Yeah.
The team. That's what makes it what it is.
And I think a lot of your people are also Northumbrians and local people, aren't they? So it's, yes. Again, that's that authenticity thing that we talked about in the beginning, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And actually, that's something our guests point out, because, the hotel industry or hospitality as a whole is really suffering through an inability to recruit. I don't know if it was to do with lockdown. I don't know what's going on, but I do know that it is very, very difficult to get staff and maintain good staff. So, yes, we're very lucky that our team are pretty much about 98% Northumbrian or of that ilk, certainly local to the UK and to the northeast.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Margaret. That's been lovely to talk to you. And we'll talk to you again shortly, I believe, about your dog-friendly status. So thanks very much for now.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Jane. Have a good day.
Thank you.